Happy Thursday evening, everybody. Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this up-to-date edition of Believers Talk, guys. Haven't been on here for a little bit. Was on here not too long ago to giving you the Sabres game, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? We live streamed the Sabres game. I think that was, earlier this week, maybe last week? I forget. I don't know. All these days run together nowadays. But I thought I'd come on here on a Thursday again, my normal night. Actually, I believe it was just last Thursday. 20 CBA, the collective bargaining agreement between the NFL and the Players Association. Currently, the 2020 season is set to be the last season for the NFL if there can't be a new collective bargaining agreement. We're talking about a possible holdout, things of that nature. Now, it doesn't look like that we will go down that route. It was a little scarier back in 2009, 2010 when that collective bargaining agreement ended. But there are some things on the table, and there are a couple rule changes in the last year of a collective bargaining agreement that may impact the Buffalo Bills. So we'll talk about them as well. Again, guys, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe. If you're new to this channel, you want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button as we have you up to date on all Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports news as it pertains to our Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo Bulls. I have you covered right here. Speaking of the Buffalo Sabres, last I checked, they were down 2-0 to Columbus, so I'll keep you posted on that if you're joining me. Still 2-0 with 5 minutes to go in the second period. Sabres are not looking as good as we would have liked, but it is what it is at this point. Obviously, it looks like we're going to miss the playoffs for the 9th consecutive season, longest active streak currently in the NHL. It just doesn't look like it's getting any better over there. However, if you look at our Buffalo Bills, made the playoffs this past season, and now the expectations are high, right? And guys, I am going to keep you up to date on all the free agent news, right? We have free agency coming up. March 18th is the beginning of the league year, which also means March 18th is considered the last year of the current collective bargaining agreement, and that may affect how we structure some contracts, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, we want to talk about Jordan Phillips as I wait to see who all gets in here on this Thursday evening. Again, I know a lot of you didn't know I was going live tonight. I didn't know I was going live tonight until about an hour ago. So I just wanted to get on here again, say hi to everybody. I mean, I don't get to hang out with you guys nearly as much now that football season is over. I want to hopefully continue to get on here as much as possible to give you guys late-breaking Buffalo Bills news. I was on here when Greg Olsen announced they was visiting with the Bills. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything new about that. Remember, Greg Olsen can sign at any time. Greg Olsen is a free agent as of today. Ronald Enix, welcome to the room. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. I'm not sure why you're not showing up on my other chat, but we'll take a look here. Things going good for you guys. I'm glad that you guys are in the room. Hey, Angry Buffalo Sports Fan, Ronald Enix, Daniel, I appreciate all you guys coming in here. King Cam, welcome to Believers Talk. Again, I hope you guys can see me because I can't see me, but looks like you can. So I'm going to keep going here. Obviously, something going on with my my YouTube account. That's okay. We're going to keep it going. Again, thank you guys for joining. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like this video, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. We have Anthony coming in. Greg Olsen should have a team by Sunday. And let me know in the comment section, do you want the Buffalo Bills to sign Greg Olsen, or do you want him to go somewhere else? Hashtag Sports recently did a video about Greg Olsen earlier this week. And again, guys, if you haven't checked out Hashtag Sports, I'm sure most of you have by this time. I know that we have a lot of the same fan base, and that's awesome. We always enjoy talking about Bills sports with you guys. But if you haven't checked out Hashtag Sports, go over there. And they're not a fan of bringing Greg Olsen in. They're just not sure what he brings to the team. I know that Mario made my argument for me in the video just to play a little devil's advocate. And if you look at Mario's response and his arguments, those would be my arguments. If you want a guy to come into that tight end, remember we drafted 2 tight ends last season in Dawson Knox and Tommy Sweeney. So you bring in a veteran tight end. I know he has some injury concerns, but so does Tyler Kroft, right? We can get rid of Tyler Kroft pretty cheap. We can get rid of Lee Smith pretty cheaply. We can get rid of some of this Jason Kroom pretty cheaply. And you add that all together, and that would probably equal the contract that you would sign Greg Olsen for. So you bring in a guy like Greg Olsen, and he'll do the same thing to the tight end room that Frank Gore did for Devin Singletary in that running back room. I think he'll be a great leader, a guy who knows what it takes to be a Super Bowl caliber tight end. He was on a Super Bowl caliber team and can really help maybe elevate Dawson Knox's game or Tommy Sweeney's game as well. So that's why I would be a fan. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Joe's having connecting trouble staying connected to the server. I don't know what's going on. So I want the Bills to sign Greg Olsen, but I think he's going to Seattle. I know that he has some ties with the Seattle Seahawks, so he might go there. But again, he went to Washington, he went to Buffalo, and he also went to Seattle. Hashtag is a good channel. So yeah, absolutely, they're a great channels. Like I said, go check them out. Yeah, congrats to Paul over at Hashtag Sports. For those who don't know, the birth of his son. So again, congratulations to Paul. I'm trying to check to make sure I am connected to the server here. Guys, let me know in the comment section. Are you guys having trouble hearing me or anything like that? I'm not seeing my face on my screen, so I actually have my phone up so I can read your guys' comments. I don't want to miss anything. Croft's got to go, in my opinion. We basically signed a guy to play on the sideline all season. Hey, James, how you doing? Welcome to Believers Talk. First time I believe I've seen you in the comment section. I have a bad memory, as many people over here will tell you, so it's possible that you've probably commented on every video and I just haven't seen it. But again, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. We will talk about Jordan Phillips in a little bit. Dan Cousin says, sounds good, thank you. McD likes to have leaders at every position. Olsen fits that bill. Absolutely, and it's the type of contract that Brandon Beane would like, right? A 1 or 2 year deal, depending on how long Greg also wants to continue with his NFL career. So I do look forward to seeing what happens with that. And as was just commented, that it looks like Greg Olsen will hopefully have a decision by this weekend. And when he does, if it's with the Buffalo Bills, you know we'll break it right here on Believers Talk. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And guys, hit that notification bell. We'll notify you when we post new content. I know the Buffalo Bills aren't playing anymore, but there's plenty to go on. Remember, the league year starts March 18th. But prior to that, we have the NFL Combine going on, so we'll keep you updated on that. Last weekend in February, we have some breaking news as far as Greg Olsen or other players down the line. Maybe we'll re-sign some of these players before that time, so there's plenty of news. But we heard Brandon Beane at the Senior Bowl, right? And this will get into me talking about Jordan Phillips. We heard Brandon Beane at the Senior Bowl say, guys, don't be concerned if some of these guys are not re-signed till March, right? Not only because the fact that, you know, they want to see what their value is on the market, and I have some numbers here for Jordan Phillips, but with this new CBA, the salary cap would go up, right? If the team signed a new CBA before the end of the league year, CBA will go up. Salary caps could go up, and that would see a rise in salaries. Right now with the CBA, there are a couple things on the floor that both the Players Association and the NFL are still waiting to vote on. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about Jordan Phillips. King Cam comes in. Do I think we should go after a free agent wide receiver or go for one in the draft? I think we should go for one in the draft. We could talk about that for a little bit. I don't think, like a lot of people do, and I've talked about this until my head will explode, I do not think the Buffalo Bills need a number one wide receiver. Don't need an Amari Cooper. Don't need someone who will be a game changer. Would it be nice? Yes, but we have a lot of needs around this team to go after a free agent that's going to require big money, right? I think we need a tall wide receiver. And if that tall wide receiver has a bunch of other skill sets, obviously that's going to help out the Buffalo Bills. But that's something we can pick up in the draft. I've been talking about Colin Johnson from Texas, 6'6". I mean, I really like this kid. I think that he can bring new things, a different dynamic to the Buffalo Bills. So I would love to see that. I would love to see the Buffalo Bills go after one of these tall receivers. Maybe get Michael Pittman from USC in the second, maybe third round. You know, there are some good players, good value out there with a deep wide receiver class that we can go get a wide receiver second, third round, and he will fit the bill for what the Buffalo Bills need. John Brown had a good year this year for the Buffalo Bills, and if you can imagine another weapon on the other side, on the outside, like a Michael Pittman, someone that defenders have to account for, that could open up Brown a little bit more. You have Cole Beasley underneath. I think it could lead to a prolific offense, especially if you get Dawson Knox to be more consistent in the pass game as well. I think these are all signs that lead to good things for Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills team. And let's not forget about Devin Singletary catching balls out of the backfield. 2020, I expect to see Devin Singletary get a lot more of the workload, and that would include catching balls out of the backfield, more consistency there between Josh Allen and Devin Singletary at that time. Sound wide receiver, draft 2 wide receivers in my opinion. That'd be way too many. Who are you getting rid of then? Who are you getting rid of? Because then you're talking about a big wide receiver room that would have 7, 8 guys. We're not going to keep them all on the roster unless you get one in the 6th round, maybe a wide receiver in the 6th round, like we did with Austin Prohl or Ray McLeod. Just see if they can do special things like Robert Foster ended up doing for us that one year. But I just don't know if that might be a little too much heavy on the wide receiver there. Aloha Joe, Jack Patrick, how you doing? Let's go Bills, 6'4" or more. Yeah, absolutely. Size 6'4" or more would be awesome. Again, I don't think we need a star number 1 wide receiver like an Amari Cooper, like an AJ Green. Not a fan of AJ Green as far as signing him at this point in his career. I always liked AJ Green, thought he had a great career, but with his injuries, current injury history, and just his age, he's getting up there, guys. I'm not sure what kind of number he would demand, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay that if I'm the Buffalo Bills. James comes in. If Phillips is going to cost too much, why is he not in the top 50 or 100 free agents on most boards? Bills need to try hard to keep him. So we were looking at Jordan Phillips. Let's look at Jordan Phillips. If you go to spottrack.com, you can look up Jordan Phillips market value, right? And Jordan Phillips market value is 6.1 million average season. So if you look at spottrack.com, let me pull it up here real quick for us. They have his market value set at, like I said, 6.1 annual salary, 3 years, $18.5 million. That's what they're basing his annual salary got on. And guys, we have to ask ourselves, is he worth that kind of money? Is a rotational player worth that kind of money? Or can we get a decent rotational defensive tackle for a lesser price? Can we do that? And you look at this unrestricted free agency class when it comes to defensive tackles, there are a couple good ones available. Guys, let's talk about Jordan Phillips for a second. It's not like he was a stud coming out of Miami, right? We signed him in 2018, halfway through the season, and it wasn't like he was a world beater in Miami. Prior to this year, let's just talk about prior to this year, his first 5 seasons in the league, you're talking about a guy, 4 seasons in the league. Talking about a guy that only had 5.5 sacks in 4 seasons, 58 total tackles. It was not until this year that he really climbed up those rankings, right? With 9.5 sacks and 31 tackles and 13 tackles for a loss. All big numbers. But is it a system thing or is it a player thing? And if you look at Jordan Phillips' stats, it doesn't look like it's a player thing. I mean, unless he went up 8.5 sacks in 1 year, and that was just the trajectory his career took. You look at his rookie, or 2015, he had 2 sacks. 2016, half a sack. 2017, 2 sacks. 2018, 1 sack. And now all of a sudden, 9.5. And we're expected to think that that's the player he is. Come on, no, we're smarter than that, right? He's a good player. He's a solid player. If you put him in the right system, he will do well. But that can be said about other guys on this defensive tackle free agency list who won't cost us $6.1 million, right? Jordan Phillips played on less than 50% of defensive snaps last season for the Buffalo Bills. Is that someone that you think is worth 6.1 or $6.2 million? Now, he might give us a hometown discount, right? You might say, hey, what about that Buffalo hometown discount? He might be buying into the culture, kind of like Star Latuile is, right? Star Latuile saying that, he's willing to take that pay cut to stay on the Buffalo Bills, get that guaranteed money. Maybe Jordan Phillips is willing to do that same thing. Who knows? Who knows what's going on there? And if he is, maybe that's something that we look into more. But I just think 6.1 million average salary is just not yearly salary is just not worth it for the production that he gave previous seasons. If we can get another player for less money. So let me go through the comment section and let me know what you guys think. I think Jordan Phillips is wanting a lot more than Spot Track. Well, of course the players want more. It's not a matter of what they want. It's a matter of what they're worth, right? And we've talked about that with Brandon Beane before. Brandon Beane is great at going ahead and setting that market and then saying we're not going above that price. If Brandon Beane thinks Jordan Phillips is worth $5.5, $6 million, then do it. Do it. Give him that contract and say, here you go, buddy. But again, this might be a case where Jordan Phillips is waiting until the start of the league year, March 18th, to really figure out what other teams are willing to pay him. What is his true market value? Listen, Spotrac can be as close and consistent as they want to be, and some of these other websites, but until you get out on the market, you're not exactly sure what you're worth. And let's be honest, if it's all about the money for Jordan Phillips, which hey, for some players it is, and that there's no problem with that, make your money. You know, what's the difference between 6.1 million and 6.5 million, right? And if one team, if the Bills say you're worth 6.1 and another team like the Raiders comes in and says you're worth 6.5, go take the 6.5. Congratulations on an extra $400,000. And sometimes that takes till the start of the league year to really figure that out. But if you look at Jordan Phillips' stats prior to coming to Buffalo Bills, it's not like we can't find a suitable replacement to fit those numbers, right? So if you look at the Buffalo Bills defensive tackles as of the 2020 season, currently under contract, you're looking at Star Latulippe, again, Star just renewing his contract, just restructuring his contract, I should say, to make it almost all guaranteed money at this point, due to make $8.35 million this year if you include contract bonuses and things like that. Yet Ed Oliver, it would cost us 3 times as much to get rid of Ed Oliver as is to keep him. So I'm pretty sure we're keeping Ed Oliver at $4.446 million this season. Harrison Phillips due to make $891,000 this season. Remember, guys, Harrison Phillips injured most of all last season. I think week 3, the home opener, is when he got hurt, and he tore his ACL, so he was gone the rest of the season. Really liked what he did his first year in the year as far as coming on strong, his work with Kyle Williams. Who knows what we have there? And then Vincent Taylor is still on his team, making $735,000. So those are the guys that we currently have under contract during the 2020 NFL season. So obviously we need to pick up a defensive tackle. Star took a pay cut. Yeah, Danny, he absolutely did. Sorry, guys, I'm missing some of your comments as I continue to talk here. But if you guys want me to read something over the air, if you guys have a question, I do have a super chat feature, which I really appreciate. All the proceeds of that go towards the channel. So if there's something you want me to read, something that I'm not getting to, just hit that super chat button and go ahead and leave me that comment. Again, I really appreciate it, and all proceeds go back to this channel. Harrison Phillips was playing well before he got hurt. Yeah, absolutely he was, and that's something we have to look forward to. But we also have to worry, how much will that ACL injury really affect him in the long run? Will that have a bigger effect than just missing a season? We've seen players come back from ACL injury, and it really takes another year before they really feel like themselves. So we do have to take that into account, have him on less of a rotational basis. So as I looked at some of these unrestricted free agents, guys, at the defensive tackle, I found two names that I thought statistically prior to the Buffalo Bills are comparable to Jordan Phillips, right? Comparable to Jordan Phillips' time in Miami and will cost us less. And are still pretty big names, and I think could still really get the job done in this system. First name I come up to is Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce, defensive tackle, previously with the Baltimore Ravens, has spent 4 years in the NFL out of Stanford. You look at his market value, according to Spotrac, he's marketed to be a 2-year type contract, and we know how much Brandon Beane loves those 2-year deals, right? We know how much he loves those deals. The average annual salary at $4.7 million. So you're talking about savings of $1.4 million. And it doesn't sound like a lot of money because in the NFL, let's be honest, $1.4 million isn't that much money, but that's money you can use somewhere else. Like maybe re-signing Tre'Davious or restructuring Tre'Davious White's contract, talking about re-signing Jordan Poyer, anything along those lines that could help us out for the season. But if you look at Michael Pierce's stats over the first 4 years of his career, again, very comparable to Jordan Phillips with his time in Miami. I'm trying to pull him up now, guys. Give me 1 second. Jack Patrick says Joe's going big time like Paul Mario Enrico. Looks like the Jack Patrick channel has a future. Hey, good luck, Jack. I'll subscribe, man. I'll subscribe. And I don't plan on going big time. I really don't. This is where I plan to be. I plan to be with you guys. I always plan to be right in the center of Bills Mafia, hanging out with you guys. In fact, I might have some fun stuff going on for the NFL draft. I don't think I'm going to join you for the NFL draft here on my channel. I think that there's a lot of content where you go to Hashtag Sports. They normally throw a draft party. If you go over to Buffalo Fanatics, they normally throw some sort of draft party. I might have to go to one of these parties, right? Instead of giving you continuing Buffalo Bills content that you get on other channels, maybe I'll just join you guys with hashtag mail. I'll go up to Buffalo and join you guys somewhere else. But we'll see what happens. But I plan to be around during the draft, but I don't plan on being on this channel. So make sure you're looking out for me. I'll definitely let you know what's going on if I get up that way. Maybe hang out with some of you guys, some of the Bills Mafia, as we watch the NFL draft. And who knows what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The NFL draft, of course, coming up in April. So, again, I'll keep you updated on my plans and see if we can maybe get together with Bills Mafia and hang out for the NFL draft. So, you talk about statistics for Michael Pierce. Like I said, going into his 5th season in the league, last year played in 49% of snaps, which is around where Jordan Phillips will play, right? Jordan Phillips, a rotational defensive tackle, then he could play about 50% of the snaps like he did last season. So 49% of sacks, only had a half sack last season. In his first 4 years, he has 4 sacks so far in his career. Had 35 tackles last season for the Baltimore Ravens. So that's something we really got to consider. Can we get another guy for cheaper? A guy that, again, is comparable to the Jordan Phillips situation. James Manhurt give Phillips a big incentive contract. If he plays well again, he gets big money. The other Phillips is going to take a year post-surgery to come back. Let's talk about big incentives. Let's talk about that as we brought up the CBA, as we're going to talk about the CBA and how it affects some of these contracts. Let's talk about incentives when it comes to Jordan Phillips or any of these players for the Buffalo Bills. So when you're looking at incentive contracts, there are times in the league, right, in a league year where you can sign players to an incentive contract, right? And you can have that contract, those incentives taken out of the next year's salary cap. You don't have to have them taken out this year. But since we're coming into the last year of a CBA, this year's CBA, at least this time, that the incentives will come out of the 2020 NFL season salary cap, all of them. So if you have some incentives that you don't think that player is going to reach, I was reading about it on ESPN.com, and I have the article up now. So let me go ahead and pull that up real quick for you. Incentive structure. So the New England Patriots in 2018, for example, used $38.8 million in NLTBs. BEs, which is not likely to be earned incentives. They used that for they were the most by any team, again, at $38.8 million. So you can put in these not likely to be earned incentives in a player's contract, which makes him really have to earn it. This is perfectly allowed. So let me just read what it says here. This is perfectly legal and likely the result of the Patriots' ability to promise their players postseason shares and Super Bowl glory but in 2020, unless a new CBA is reached between now and then, so basically we have between now and March 18th, it will be tougher to pull that off. In the final league year, any incentive bonuses, be they likely or unlikely to be earned, will count against a team's salary cap the moment they are triggered. For example, if a player gets a $1 million incentive for catching 75 passes, as soon as he catches the 75th pass in the 2020 season, his team absorbs a fresh $1 million salary cap charge. In 2019, all previous years of the current agreement, the team wouldn't have to account for that charge until after the season was over. So that does change things a little bit when it comes to talking about new contracts, especially new incentive contracts, as was brought by James. Steve comes in. Welcome, Steve, to the Believers Talk again. Thank you, guys. A lot of guys who take a full year off lose a step in their game. I'm really hoping he adjusts and gets back up to speed by week 4. And again, that does happen a lot, especially with these ACL injuries, right? You miss a full season, it takes you a year, but you have to have playing time, right? In order to feel like normal again, you have to get back on the field, you have to play. So it's really a double-edged sword, right? You don't want to keep him out too much because then it's going to take another year or 6 weeks or whatever until the next season for him to really feel 100%, to really feel like himself. So you want him to play, and of course, I want Harrison Phillips now, but you don't want to play him too much where he becomes a detriment to the team. So you want him to play, you want him to play to the best of his abilities, and that's why I think the Buffalo Bills have a great system right now with Leslie Frazier, with Coach McDermott, having these defensive tackles rotate in. So I really wouldn't be surprised to see if we carry 5 defensive tackles instead of 4 this next season because of the limited playing time for Harrison Phillips compared to some of these other players. Again, if you can get a guy like a Michael Pierce, like a Jordan Phillips even, or like this next guy that I have up, and that's Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton, who played for the New England Patriots last year. Same thing as Michael Pierce. According to Spot Track, his market value is 4.7 million average annual salary. They're talking about maybe a 3 or 4 year deal for him over there. And again, if you look at his stats comparatively to Jordan Phillips in his first 4 seasons, not that bad. Okay, again, Jordan Phillips' first 4 seasons spent them all with the Miami Dolphins. In midway through his 4th season, got traded to the Buffalo Bills or got sent to the Buffalo Bills. So in Danny Shelton's first 4 seasons, he has 4.5 sacks. He has 211 total tackles, so that's far more than what Jordan Phillips has. So this guy has been a key contributor at the defensive tackle position for the New England Patriots. Well, what could he do with the Buffalo Bills? A team who is really mirroring their image, as Mario will tell you on Hashtag Sports, after this Patriots team. So you're talking about a defense that could really be stout in the run game. He's a much better run protector than Jordan Phillips would be. So you talk about Danny Shelton would be a great free agent pickup, someone that's going a little under the radar, who I think has had a pretty good first 4 years first with Cleveland, now with New England. Bring him on board. Bring him on board. Let's see what he can do. Again, 4.5, 5 sacks already in his young career, which is more than what Jordan Phillips had, or about the same as what Jordan Phillips had. Let's say we bring him in here, get that same of Jordan Phillips type production, and pay him less. I think that's a good deal overall for the Buffalo Bills. Let me get to some of your comments here. Steve Hampton says the rotational system is a big part of the secret sauce with Bills' D-line success. I absolutely believe that. And hopefully we get some defensive ends who can rush the passer on a more consistent basis. Remember, that was a huge problem for the Buffalo Bills this past season. Couldn't get to the passer on a consistent basis. There were games we did really well, and then there were games where it looked like we could have done a lot better getting to. I mean, just look at the 2 New England games. Perfect example. First game against New England in Buffalo, we were able to get Tom Brady, give him pressure, and Tom Brady is one of the worst games of his career, not just the season, of his career. Second game, the game in New England, couldn't get any pressure on New England on Tom Brady. He tore us up. So get some defensive ends. Maybe even look at the draft at defensive ends. That's someplace that I'm looking at the draft as well. And guys, remember, I will have mock drafts coming out soon, shortly after shortly after the combine is over, I should say. Have some mock drafts for you. Maybe even some going into free agency. So again, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Again, thank you guys for joining me now. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button as we continue to talk Buffalo Bills football. Again, it's a Thursday. Normally, this is when I come on during the season to give you my pregame. I love getting on here on Thursdays and hanging out with Bills Mafia. Ryan comes in and says, I could see us going after an outside linebacker in free agency with the loss of Lorenzo Alexander. I can definitely see that. That might be one of those spots where we need to go into free agency for. Maybe use a 3rd, 4th round pick. Now, we know that we have Voshon Joseph hanging out as well, who we picked up in the 5th round last season. Let's see what he can do. And a lot of it depends on what the Bills coaching staff has seen that we haven't, right? You look at Christian Wade at the running back position, Is he going to be ready to go for the 2020 season to be the 3rd back, right? Because then we don't have to get running back in free agency or the draft because we have Christian Wade. You have Devin Singletary. You bring in TJ Yeldon, and then you have Christian Wade. However you mix the other 2 up, you still have your workhorse in Devin Singletary. And if Christian Wade shows that he's ready to take that workload, then hey, go for it, right? Because you only have so many years left in Christian Wade because he's already over 30 years old. Now, I know he hasn't played much NFL football, but guys, rugby isn't exactly a soft sport on the legs, so who knows what he has left in the tank. Wide receiver, you look at Duke Williams. Did Duke Williams prove to you in last season that he has enough to be a regular contributor in the wide receiver room for the Buffalo Bills? If he has, then we can wait on a wide receiver. Because remember, there were things Duke Williams could do. They proved in the Houston Texans game that he's the only guy on the Bills current skill wide receiver set that could do those type of things. I remember that one diving catch he made on a third down. He's the only wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills who can do that the way he did in that play. And I truly believe that. Now, I was not happy with some of the play from Duke Williams. I'm sure we all can feel that way. And if you've watched this channel, you know I was not the biggest supporter of bringing Duke Williams into the game, bringing him active for a playoff game. And I wasn't a fan of bringing Duke Williams in at the beginning of the season, things like that. So, I've been very cautious with Duke Williams. But if the Bills coaching staff has seen something that he could be a regular contributor, be the number 2 guy, then we don't have to worry about wide receiver early in the draft. Vosean Joseph, the other example, outside linebacker. If he can step up, if you could trust Tremaine Edmonds, maybe Matt Milano to be those example type setting guys to take over the leadership role in the linebacker room, then you don't have to worry about picking up a veteran guy in free agency if you trust the guys that you have. And obviously this changes how you look at free agency. This changes how you look at the draft, depending on which guys the coaching staff really likes and which guys we think or they think that we could do better than. So we'll see what happens there. Steve Hampton comes in. You can't replace Zoe. Absolutely not. His versatility with dirt in the ground, pass rush, outside linebacker coverage, and special teams was unique. I agree with you completely. I feel like later in his career, especially this past season, his coverage out of the backfield maybe slipped a little bit, but I don't think you can replace Zoe with one player. I 100% agree with you. Kind of like you can't replace Kyle Williams with one player. Now they brought in Ed Oliver, who could take over as maybe not in the leadership role like that Kyle Williams had, but definitely is a monster at the defensive tackle position who will potentially be just as good as Kyle Williams one day. We can only hope, but you can't replace him in one season. So I do agree with you that there. Duke has more of an upside than some, but I don't know if he makes the 53 next year. I'm not sure either. I'm going to really, with Christian Wade, with Duke Williams, Vosean Joseph, those are definitely guys I'm going to be looking out for when it comes to next season and seeing if they make the 53-man roster. I think it's going to be very interested. I'm not as optimistic on Christian Wade as a lot of you are. I understand that. And a lot of you are excited with the preseason he had last year. Duke Williams, I'm not sure about. I think he has a better chance than Christian Wade would. Vosean Joseph is probably, if I had to say which one I'm most confident out of those three, it'd be Vosean Joseph. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's a long way to go between then and now. Training camp, who knows if someone gets hurt. We saw what happened to Leandron Waddle this season. We thought he was going to make the 53-man roster. He unfortunately gets hurt, and he doesn't make the 53-man roster. He's then put on injury reserve. So we will see what happens. Promethean's in the room. Welcome, man. Glad that you're in here. Do we draft a deep threat if Josh is gonna overthrow him? I think we draft a tall wide receiver. That's what I'm talking about. And if he has speed to go with it, that's great. But if he doesn't, I think we need a guy at the inside the 20-yard lines who can go up and get it. Remember, guys, the beginning of the 2019 season, we started off great inside the red zone. We did. We really started on fire. And then all of a sudden, it got worse as the year went on. Inside the red zone, the Bills were struggling. So that might be something that we look at as far as what to do inside the red zone, get those tall receivers. I'm not worried about those deep threats. I'm really not. I don't mind holding on to the ball, having 7, 8, 9 play possessions and making a team have to work, a defense have to work, because when the defense has to work to begin a game with a 9, 10, 11 play drive, then they start to cheat up a little bit, right? If we're not beating them deep, they start to cheat up, and that's when you can have John Brown or whoever we draft, or even Cole Beasley go up the seam and get one of those long passes downfield. John Brown knows how to get downfield. We saw it week 1 against the Jets, right? We saw it week 1 against the Jets. We saw it against the Patriots in New England. He knows how to get downfield. You give Josh Allen time to throw the ball, he's going to find John Brown deep. So I don't think we need speed. I think we need height. Height, to me, is more important when it comes to wide receiver position than speed in the draft and free agency, no matter what. And again, if you can get both, that's a bonus. That's an absolute bonus. Pierre comes in. Welcome, buddy. If Bills play in London, it would be cool to have Wade. Absolutely. That would be really neat to have Wade. I don't think the Bills are playing in London this year. Oh, wait, no. There is that. They were talking about the Miami Dolphins game. Now, luckily, it would be a home game for the Dolphins, but they were talking about that Bills-Dolphins game being played in London. Hopefully, at least it's not the Jaguars situation where they're losing 2 home games to London. It looks like the Jaguars are becoming the London/Jacksonville Jaguars. I personally don't like it. I don't mind going out there for a game or two, right? Having the NFL go out there for a game or two just to show what we have and give the fans something to watch. I get it. But to have a team out there, just to think about what that means for the league overall, I think that would be a nightmare as far as team travel schedules, things like that. But the NFL is going to do what gives them the most money, right? And so that's why during the CBA negotiations we're talking about, so the NFL has put it on the floor to add a 17th game. Guys, tell me what you think in the comment section. Do you want teams to play a 17th game? Now, it's going to be interesting where they get that 17th game from, right? Because right now schedules, like I said, when we did the Buffalo Bills opponent schedule episode, schedules can be figured out for eternity right now as long as nothing changes, right? You talk about playing another division in your conference, you talk about playing another division out of conference, and then you talk about playing 2 games against the teams that in your conference that finished with the same in the same part in their division. So if you finish second in your division, you play the other 2 second place teams, and yada yada yada. So like I said, the schedule, you have a way of seeing that right now. They have that 17th game. What's going to happen? I see a lot of no's coming in for that 17th game. Rick says no. Pierre says no. Hate to play in London. It's BS, says Promethean. Diana says it's okay to me. Steve says yes. I like 17 games with 3 preseason and even an extra bye week. But also, not only are they talking about 17 games, they're talking about giving the teams an extra 1.5% of the salary intake, right? So instead of, right now, the owners keep 53% and the players get 47% of the rosters. The team gets 47%. So we're talking about giving the team 48.5% of the income and the owners only keeping 51.5%. So it's what's interesting to me, and I think they've debated this on a lot of sports radio and probably on TV. Unfortunately, I don't watch sports TV all that much. But what they've talked about is, you talk about the safety of these players. How does adding a 17th game help the safety of these players out? Even if you add extra bye week, it's not, if you have 10 or I'm sorry, let's not say 10. If you have 4 concussions in your career, it's not like that extra week's going to help you, okay? You're still more likely to get that 5th concussion. Look at Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse is a perfect example going for us Buffalo Bills fans last year. Gets his 3rd concussion in training camp, and then he's out the rest of training camp. Did that mean once the season started, since he missed a few weeks, that was less likely to get another concussion? No, he still has the same likelihood to get another concussion. And when we're talking about CTE, that's very interesting to me. Very interesting to me that, we could say, oh, we're worried about head injuries, but at the same time, and this goes for the players, the owners, and the NFL, all of them. But at the same time, let's add some games in there. Let's hit the head more. Let's make it harder for players. Now, they might add a player or 2 to the roster. So what? You're going to play your star players, right? You're going to play your star players. Tell me when we're going to sit Josh Allen. Tell me when we're going to sit Mitch Morse if he's healthy. I just don't buy it. J Bad Flowers, the wife, the live streams can't wait. Get some. Jack, I have my wife covered for tomorrow. We're going to have a great time. And if you have a wife or a loved one or whatever have you, happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy it. It's just another day, but it's going to be a fun day. We got someone to watch the kid for us, so we're going to go out and have a good time. Don't worry. We'll be all right, Jack. We'll be all right. But thanks for looking out. Good looking out, Jack. But just remember, if we do that too often, it might become a second kid, and I'll be in Paul's situation where I'll have to skip a few weeks on here. And I don't have a Mario. I don't have Mario there to help out with the channel. So if I'm gone, this channel doesn't really exist for a few weeks. So, you have that problem. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. So, but obviously you guys would be knowing about that. James says, let's have all the teams play one of those 17 games in Hawaii. Jack, what do you think about that? So, James, you probably don't know this, but Jack Patrick, the guy who's commenting above you there, he actually lives in Hawaii, where it's, 6'10" right now, or 5'10", or 4, I don't know. He's probably still at work, but he's also enjoying some, instead of I think it's like 27 degrees out here right now, he's probably enjoying some 60-degree weather. He'll give you a weather update in a second. Don't worry about it. He's got you covered with that Hawaii update. Hell yes, it's Jack Patrick. He's loving it. He's loving it. Go play in Hawaii. Hey, I kind of miss the Pro Bowl being in Hawaii every year. I thought that was a lot of fun. 410, 82, and sunny. Yeah, we all love you, Jack. Oh, yeah. But anyway, but yeah, again, guys, talking about the defensive tackle position, we talked about who the Bills currently have on on the 2020 roster. We have 4 guys on the current roster for the defensive tackle that are contracted through 2020. I think we'll probably keep all of these guys. We might not see Vincent Taylor. We saw him a lot on the inactive list this past after we traded for him, after we got Legion on the team. So we've Starla Tuile, Ed Oliver, Harrison Phillips, and Vincent Taylor. Those are the 4 guys that are contracted with the Buffalo Bills at the defensive tackle position through 2020. So I think all 4 of those guys would probably make the 53-man roster again. Maybe Vincent Taylor is one of those inactive guys who makes the 53-man, doesn't make the 47-man roster, but it all depends who we pick up in free agency. Do we pick up a defensive tackle in the draft? I don't think Vincent Taylor's position is safe by any means. But the other 3 guys, Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver, Starla Tuile, you can bet that they're safe to make it onto that 2020 roster. So we'll see what happens there. Looking at the defensive tackle free agent market, again, there's a bunch of defensive tackle free agent guys. These are all, I'll show you the list. These are all defensive tackle free agents right here, and it goes on to the back too. It goes on to the back. So you got a bunch of defensive tackle players. Now, again, some of them are unknown players, things like that, but that doesn't mean that the Bills can't take a chance on them, right? And you look at some of these guys, like I said, Michael Pierce, I like Danny Shelton, who are all signing for less. If that's true, then great, sign those guys, especially if, as someone said in the comment section, if Jordan Phillips is looking for more than what his market value says, if he's looking for $7, maybe $8 million a year, you can go to Michael Pierce, you can go to Danny Shelton and say, hey, weren't you looking for $5? Yeah, let's do that. Let's get 5. And there's still playing names on that list. So, guys, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the replay, let me know in the comment section who are the unrestricted free agents other than Jordan Phillips would you want to see the Buffalo Bills sign. It might take you doing a little research. Again, I've told you my 2 names that I really like, who really match Jordan Phillips as far as statistics go going in when we got him from Miami. So maybe they could do the same type of thing that he did in Buffalo. Is it a scheme thing? Is it the defensive scheme? Because, again, this defense, since Leslie Frazier's come on, has been pretty dang good, right? You're talking about 3rd in defense last year. You're talking about, I think, 2nd in defense the year before that. Pretty good overall for this defense for the Buffalo Bills. So is it a system thing or is it a player thing? Again, let me know in the comment section. Bring back Darius and Watkins while we're at it, says James. Darius is a free agent, Marcel Darius, defensive tackle. Don't sign him for as big of a contract as you did the last time, that's for sure. James Patrick says, James, no! But hey, Watkins gets that Super Bowl ring. Congratulations to him. Jack says, I swear if Singletary isn't a focus of our offense next year, I'm going to choke myself. If you don't watch the Don Mafia, if you're not a member of Don Mafia, first of all, check out his channel as well. But yeah, he always talks about running the ball, and that's one thing I always stress too. Run the football. Actually, it's funny. The first thing I ever taught my wife that she didn't know about the NFL is run north to south. Because back then we had McCoy still. He was juking and jiving, and it kind of sometimes drove you nuts. So one of the first things I taught her was run north to south. Just run north to south. So not only run the ball, but make sure you're getting positive yards as you run the ball. Steve asks, could we see Ed Oliver move to the edge and we bring in another tackle? That's also a possibility, right? Ed Oliver was potentially listed as an edge coming out in the NFL draft, lost some weight. If that's what McDermott and that's what Leslie Frazier wanted to do, that's a possibility. He was at nose at Houston, so we assume that he's good at the defensive tackle position, and that's what he was drafted for. I don't think he was drafted with the idea of moving him to edge the following season, because you never know how a season's going to go, right? You didn't expect Jordan Phillips to have 9.5 sacks last season at this time, did you? I didn't, but again, you never know how a season's going to go. So maybe we bring in a defensive tackle and then move Ed Oliver out to edge, because we know we need an edge guy too, right? We need someone who can get consistent pressure on the quarterback. But to just that, again, one of the special things about this defense, one of the secrets, as someone put in the comments, is constantly rotating those defensive tackles. So the last thing you want to do is take someone who's good at defensive tackle and move him to the edge, making you thinner at that defensive tackle position. But you never know what Coach McDermott, what Leslie Frazier have up their sleeve. It's going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do. Talk about the CBA a little bit, guys. Again, right now we have until March 18th, which it doesn't look like the Players Association and the NFL are going to come to an agreement when it comes to a new CBA prior to March 18th. So that means there's a couple things at play here when it comes to contracts, right? We talked about the fact that incentive contracts are now, as of the 2020 season, which will be March 18th, will be guaranteed the moment the player hits that incentive, right? Instead of last year, if again the example ESPN used is if a wide receiver was going to make $1 million after he gets 75 catches, well, not in 2019 he got 75 catches week 13, he still didn't get paid, didn't go against the salary cap until the end of the season, right? Well, now if the wide receiver gets 75 catches as of week 13, he gets paid $1 million, an extra $1 million out of your salary, out of a team salary cap as of week 13. And you might ask yourself, why does that matter? Well, remember, injuries happen in the NFL, right? And when you put someone, if someone gets hurt for 2-3 weeks, whether he be on injury reserved or not, you're still paying him. And he still go against your salary cap. You have to bring someone else in. So that's why you save some money going into a season, because you know players are going to get hurt, and you want to, if needed, be able to bring someone in to fill that spot again if needed. So that's what really affects you. If you can wait till the end of the season, you know what money you have in position, and you might not have as much money to do it. Also, with this CBA, you have what's called the 30% rule. And again, I'm going to go to ESPN's article about this. It's called the 30% rule. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this or not. But with the 30% rule is no player contract extended into a season beyond the final league year, which again is going to be the final league year right now, according to the CBA, is 2020, may provide for an annual increase in salary of more than 30% of the salary provided for the final league year. So let's talk about this. Is the example that I looked up on my phone. Tre'Davious White, right? We're talking about we need to re-sign Tre'Davious White, get him his contract extension. And I completely agree that we do. We need to sign our star players. But this year, 2020, Tre'Davious White is due to make $3,210,000. $3,210,000, right, and change, because of the rookie contract. So you multiply that by 30%, right, and that means he can at max for 2021 make $963,000 more. Like, that's it. Make just over $4 million. So obviously he's not going to sign an extension. Now, there are ways around it: signing bonuses, restructuring after the new CBA, things like that. There are ways around it. But do you want to sign that new extension now before the CBA is set? Because we don't know what the salary figure is going to be, the salary cap figure is going to be for 2021. We have no idea what it's going to look like, right? Because we don't have a new CBA. So do you really want to restructure a deal now, or are you going to wait until the new CBA is signed? So when you talk about renegotiating some of these contracts, when you talk about re-signing some of these players, I don't know how much we're going to see that. Now, we saw with Star Latulippe him take a pay cut, but I'm not sure how many times we're going to see players renegotiate the contract, restructure their contract prior to the new CBA being signed, because we have no idea what to expect in 2021. Again, with what's on the floor with the NFL as far as them wanting the extra game, that means that they would give the players more money. And so that adds another wrinkle to it as well. If you have, instead of 47% of the money brought into the NFL for your team, you have 48.5. That's a huge number. 1.5% is a huge number when you talk about NFL dollars. So that will obviously add to some of these salaries as well. Trey has 2 years left on his rookie deal. He does. So it's not a huge hurry, but that was just the example I used, because we want to re-sign him as soon as we can, because he's that good. He's going to reset the market, right? So the sooner we sign him, the less expensive it's going to be. But we're gonna have to wait now. We can't do it, or at least it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to do it until the new CBA is signed. So that's why I brought up that example. He does have 2 years left on his contract, but again, you want to renegotiate with him as soon as possible, so that way when he does reset the market, when he sets that bar, it's not as high as some of these other players, right? Because these other players, these other cornerbacks that came out that year are going to be looking for more money as well, are going to be looking to set the market. So if he's the first one to set the market, then people can go above or below him. I'm good with that. But the sooner we sign him, the less it's going to cost us in the long run. Definitely want to extend Trey at some point. Absolutely. James says Starr took a pay cut, or he was going to take, or Tilly was going to take his place. Probably. Again, we would have saved some money in dead cap this season if we would have cut Starr prior to that contract renegotiation. So He probably knew that, smart thinking. And again, you got to give him credit for taking a pay cut and wanting to be on this team. So I appreciate that personally as a fan of the Bills, someone who wants to play for this team. And I appreciate him being willing to renegotiate a contract. Again, Brandon Beane probably saying, you're worth, again, he was a top 10 paid defensive tackle. I think he actually was a top 5 paid defensive tackle at the time, because he was making, when he signed his 5-year, $50 million contract, he's making $10 million per year. There's not too many defensive tackles making an annual salary of $10 million per year. Now he's less than that. Now he's looking at maybe 10th, 11th, 12th, I think it was, somewhere in there. That sounds more about right? And we can live, if his contract wasn't so big, I'm pretty sure that Bills fans would have been less quick to criticize him when he didn't play well, right? But unfortunately, he got that big contract, so we were on him as soon as he made a mistake. So this really helps out both sides, I believe. When Trey signs his new deal, he will be the highest paid cornerback in the league, no matter what year he signs. Yeah, you're right. But if he signs 4 other corners too, then they won't set the bar. He'll set the bar, and that's why I think it's important to sign him sooner rather than later. There were cornerbacks that came out. Remember, he was the 3rd or 4th cornerback taken in the 2017 NFL draft. So I think, or 2018 NFL draft, I'm sorry. And I think some of them are going to demand big dollars too. And when they sign, they're going to be the highest paid cornerback. And I want us to sign Trey first, so he's the highest for like 10 days. And then the next one comes and he's higher than Trey. So that way we get away with paying the least amount of money. That's my point. But again, guys, thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. Again, if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, please be sure to do so. Another thing with this new CBA agreement that goes into effect at the start of the 2020 league year, and a lot of you probably don't know much about these, but there's no post-June 1st designations. In a normal year, and again, I'm reading this from ESPN.com, in a normal year, if a team wants to release a player from his contract without incurring an excessive amount of dead money on its salary, the team is allowed to designate that player a post-June 1 release. So they get rid of paying a lot of that money for the salary cap, save some salary cap money for themselves, but that won't be in effect for the 2020 league year. So those are 3 of the biggest things that are coming up in 2020 when it comes to the CBA. Trey Day gonna have a payday. I hope so, man. I hope so. He tweeted out something when people were talking about the we could have got Patrick Mahomes thing, which you know how much that annoys me. That makes people a little concerned. So we'll see. We'll see what he meant by it. Maybe there was a little hidden message in that, and I hope not, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that payday comes with the Buffalo Bills. Again, guys, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk for this live edition, as we talked about Jordan Phillips, whether we should re-sign Jordan Phillips or get one of the other guys we talked about. Again, a lot unrestricted free agents at the defensive tackle position going into the 2020 league year. 2020 league year starts March 18th. That's when you can start signing free agents, and we're going to be covered right here on Believers Talk. Last year, we did a video on every single free agent signing that the Buffalo Bills did. Plan to do the same thing again this year. So make sure if you haven't hit that subscribe button, like this video, hit that notification bell, notifies you when we're putting out new content. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking to you all soon when we talk about some breaking news, maybe talk about some draft news, maybe do a mock draft, maybe talk about the NFL Combine, who to look out for the NFL Combine. I'll see you all then. I'll talk to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.